How are you, Kim?
I'm really well. How are you guys?
Doing really good. Really pleased to be chatting. Thanks for making some time for us.
Nice. Thanks for having me.
So you just got back from South Africa. Were you working on something
Yeah.
exciting?
No, my husband's from South Africa, so Cape Town is like second home for us. So we were back just after Christmas to visit family and do all the gorgeous naturey things, hiking, swimming, snorkeling, all of that.
So you don't bring a scoop for us, is what you're saying?
No, unfortunately, not quite. Just a family holiday.
No shark. No shark.
No, thank God. I'm happy. Although we did see a Cape Cobra, which was definitely something I don't want to see again. So, yeah.
What is that?
It's a big old snake that you don't want to mess around with. So.
Wow. My God. But that was a good segue, Ben. Talking about sharks, we may as well
yeah, nice.
talk about Last Breath.
Very difficult.
Firstly, were you a fan of shark movies to begin with?
Yeah, I think I love a movie that's got that suspense, entertainment factor of that, and like shark movies, they're always so entertaining, I think. And actually, I've got to say, I love The Meg. That's like my ultimate I'm on an airplane movie to watch. There's something just so fantastically insane about it all. Yeah, I love that.
If they go for a third one, you'll have to audition.
Oh yeah, naturally, obviously, me and Jason. Yeah.
Before we get to the film, but do you have any favorite ones? Like, obviously The Meg, but like, did you grow up on these things? Because Ben and I were pretty much raised on them.
You know what, my first sort of interaction with that was, I remember when I was a kid and my dad took me to Universal Studios and they had that really old school Jaws ride. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm,
And that scared the ever-living shit out of me when I was a kid. I think I had to be taken off air. I cried my eyes out. I just remember that being like the most frightening thing I've ever seen. And like, the quintessential tourist picture that you take with the upside down shark and pretending it's like eating you kind of thing. So yeah, I think that was my sort of first interaction with anything sort of shark movie. When I was a kid.
That's pretty cool. I mean, and there's you go on, Ben.
I was going to say, I like that that's traumatizing for some people, and other people propose under that shark.
Do they? What?
Yeah.
That's nuts. I love that.
That's right. You got to slice the guts open and find the ring.
That's right. It's like a sword type challenge.
That's right. Well, that was a good segue too, Ben, because like Jaws has the USS Charlotte in it. That's where sort of most people are familiar with that particular story, as told by Quint. You guys got in just in the nick of time because there's another Charlotte movie coming out. So just pit them at the post. Yeah, Beasts of War. So.
Oh my God. I tell you what, in the last 2 years, I swear I've never seen such an explosion of shark movies. It felt like last year there was one like every 3 months. Yeah, like Under Paris. And like, I was just like, oh my goodness. It suddenly just feels like, I know it's always had like such a cool little fan base for shark movies. It's like a little horror niche that people love. And like, but I feel like it's got even more popular in the last couple of years, definitely.
Yeah, they got to keep Shark Week topped up.
Exactly.
Titles. I remember a few years ago watching the movie Breaking Surface and just saying to my wife, like, imagine if this director did a shark movie. And here we are. He has. Were you familiar with that film before you jumped into this one?
I wasn't, but it was one of the first things I watched when I started auditioning, and I just saw it and I was like, it was amazing. And Joachim he's just the most incredible presence to work with, and he's very like sure of what he wants, but also very calm and just so involved in the process. And the process is always very like, what do you think? What about this? And very collaborative. And he, because of the experience he had on Breaking Surface with the two women and not having really had much dive experience, from that, it gave us the most wonderful experience because they gave us so much prep. And I think from that and learning actually how claustrophobic those masks are and how intense it is shooting it, before we started filming, they sent us to Malta to train for like a week as a cast. And some of us had dived a bit, some of us had never dived. And they sent us night diving, cave diving, like all sorts of things to get used to the claustrophobia of the tank that we were shooting in. And that was just, I mean, one of the most insane experiences of my life. Like, they took us down to an actual air pocket that was about 10 meters down to like be able to take our masks off and like feel what that would actually feel like. And I felt like Joachim was such a driving force to make sure that we had that like true life experience before that, and because of braking service, which it was just, yeah, felt very privileged to have.
That's really cool. I assume he speaks fluent English?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Excellent. Makes it easier. Admittedly, like, I hadn't done a lot of research into sort of the production of this, sort of wanted to come in fresh, but talk about like the exterior shots. Did that take you to far into the earth to film? Where did the surface stuff get shot?
So all the exteriors were shot out in Malta with our amazing dive team, Dive Med, who they did our training. And then they were with us in Belgium when we shot the interiors, and then back to Malta with all of them. And they were just the most incredible people. And if you ever want to go scuba diving, they are the people in Malta to go with. So yeah, all the exteriors were shot there, and the water there is just amazing. It's so perfectly clear. But I think we did all the interiors first in the tank, and the tank itself was about 4 meters with multiple levels, and then you couldn't just like swim up to get out. There was like a lid on the top, and you had to find the exit kind of thing. So after spending like a month shooting like that, I remember my first day, we shot our first exterior, and I suddenly felt like someone had shrunk me this big. And I was actually so freaked out by the amount of space. It took us a minute to sort of be like, oh, I'm in open water now. There is all the space. I'm not this big. It's totally fine.
How
I was actually curious after, our friend has made his own shark movie last year that we played at Monster Fest, but that was all fake. It was all set in the past, so they're all wearing like the really old school diving.
Oh my goodness!
The giant bell helmet and stuff like that. But he shot all of that on
a soundstage
like
with smoke,
and then added the fake water and stuff. And so I was watching this going,
that's wild.
Is it real?
Yeah.
No, it has to be real.
That's amazing that they can do that. It's so, that's amazing.
He's talking about a film called Fear Below, and they use smoke to emulate the murkiness of the water, and then I guess in post they made those little bubbles and stuff like that. But so he put you through hell for nothing.
You couldn't do that with those old school dive suits. I mean, oof.
That's right.
Terrifying.
They weigh a ton.
How many hours were you underwater for at any given time?
So we would just basically go till our tanks were done. So that could be depending on what we were shooting, because obviously if you're shooting a more high octane scene, you're breathing heavy, you're using more air. So it would probably be like an hour. We'd come out, refill tanks, have 10 minutes, go back in. So we were shooting to 10, 12 hours a day in the water, and for like a good couple of months, which was... Yeah, I mean, I love the water anyway, and had a bit of scuba and freediving experience beforehand. But that was, I felt like very aquatic by the end of it. I was like, I need the water.
That's like months of being a prune.
Literally. Oh my God, yeah.
So you start rubbing the neck, and the gills are starting to come out.
I was very disappointed they didn't put it.
Is it difficult to block scenes when you're underwater? Like, how does that work? Like, trying to orchestrate everything with...
How do you find your mark?
Yeah.
So
floats away.
I'll tell you what, that tank was so dark as well. Like we had the fantastic rescue masks, so we could talk to each other underwater, but sometimes the comm system wouldn't work properly, and like a catch maybe Jack or Alex or like Joachim talking to us from the surface. But the tank itself was so dark, I couldn't really see anyone further than this. So beforehand, what we would do, we would block it in a green room, block it all out. And then when we got to the tank, Joachim had this like whiteboard with a map on it, and we had these little tiny magnetic scuba divers, and that would represent each of us. And he'd be like, "Okay, so you're going in here, and then you're going to swim down here, and then you're coming out there, and then Alex, you're coming in here, and then I want you to exit through this way." So it was a very militant kind of, this is your map, you've got to pay attention, this is your mark, this is what's happened when you get down there. And obviously, after a couple of weeks goes by, you're like, I've got the hang of this. And then you've gone through the whole instructions section, you're like, I wasn't listening very well. Okay, sorry. Get down there, you're like, okay. But because of how dark it was down there, trying to navigate that at first was very difficult. And trying to get in and out of the space, and because of the light on the rescue mask, they had to diffuse it, otherwise you just blind the camera. But that meant it kind of went back into your face. So a lot of the time I could see around me, but I could sort of just see my own eyes reflected back at me, which is kind of intense when you're doing like a 5-person scene and you're trying to swim and scream and blood and everything in the water. So that was like acting is all about listening and you're about the other person, and it just suddenly created this very insular environment where you had to just trust yourself and trust Joachim over the speaker that he's getting what he wants and can see it on the camera and it's going to be fine, So yeah, it was the most insane but most incredible thing I've ever done, for sure.
So, I'm assuming that the sharks are CGI. They're not. They weren't real with just a plate of glass in between you or anything.
Oh yeah,
like
God.
that. So
yeah, thank God. We did have one of the girls who was a stunt double and a safety diver, Melly. She's the most incredible free diver. So sometimes when we needed like the eye line, she would jump in the water in a little grey swim hat and a grey scuba suit and just swim really quick. And our little Melly shark would run through the tank. And we'd be like, it's just cute.
It doesn't seem like the kind of movie that you could get away with just a tennis ball that you have to.
No, definitely not. Like too much going on. It was fab to have her like swimming through very joyfully to run away from, which was cute.
So what's your point of contact, your eye contact when you need to all react at the same time suddenly to like a shark? Is there a cue there for you, something that moves that you can all look at?
We had like a general sort of understanding from the briefing where we would need to be looking at. But it was mostly Joachim helping us a lot. We had like an underwater speaker and he'd be on the top of the tank in a little kayak and with his like walkie-talkie and being able to see the screens and the monitors and just being able to sort of just direct us and making sure we're perfectly positioned. And yeah, I never knew
he didn't pull a Jim Cameron and go down there with you and actually direct from underneath.
No, he didn't. But I mean, everyone else is quite funny because you had like the producers and then Joachim on the surface and the rest of us, the whole team's just down there. So, your sound team are all scuba divers. Everyone's a diver. I was like, I didn't know there was such a niche for all of this. It's kind of crazy.
Sounds insane. We can't have you here also without talking about Julian Sands, because Ben and I don't think there is like a month goes by on our podcast that we don't talk about Julian Sands. Like, we're a little bit obsessed with him. Yeah, I mean, can you talk about working with him? Like, he's sorely missed, obviously. Like, Ben and I were very upset, but like, we love him so much. What was he like as a guy to work with?
He was fantastic. He was very mischievous and very fun and positive. He was so involved in the process from day one, which like when you meet someone who's had this like, his long career, worked with some incredible people and some amazing films, you kind of have this expectation they might be a bit removed, like from the process and step in when, they need to do their bit. But he was so grounded, and so we did so much like workshopping beforehand in London, and he was there for every step and so like encouraging and very mentor-like to Jack, who plays Noah, just really positive and cheering you on. And that's such an amazing thing from somebody like that. And he wanted to be there for every scene. So even if he wasn't on camera, he would give it every line to you, maximum effort every time. He would never like shorten you out on anything, and he'd be in the water doing as much as he can of it. And yeah, he was fantastic, and I feel very
awesome.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That's right. It looked like he had so much fun, and I just love the quirkiness of his character. Obviously, he's a cheeky reference to Jacques Cousteau. Like, that was hilarious to me, and he played it that way, which was funny.
Yeah.
Were you familiar with his work going into it?
I was. Yeah. There was a few things that I was familiar with, but yeah, he was quite new to me as this like presence on set, and he just was a very incredible, grounded, like guiding force through it all, I think. And absolutely hilarious and he would play like little pranks on set, and just, yeah, you could tell someone who just absolutely loves what they do, and they're just about the work, and there's, airs and graces about it. It's just the work and passion, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that with us.
And he arguably would have had the best time just in terms of hair and makeup, because he just gets to be scruffy. So you just know,
in and out, done.
It's like, yeah. Not taking my shirt off in this one, so I'll just doesn't matter if I'm not in the best of shape.
Didn't even have shoes on.
Don't have to brush my hair. Don't have to,
And I think Joachim also, I remember him saying just as well, I think this was one of the few times in his career that he got to use his own accent as well. And be that Yorkshire kind of accent, which I think was really fun for him to play with as well.
Which is funny because it takes you off guard a little bit. You're like, hang on, is he putting on an accent? What's going on here?
I didn't expect it either. We did our first table read. Everyone was in an American accent, so I was expecting that. And then I just suddenly was like, oh, okay, that's nice. Spice it up a bit.
Absolutely. Look, I'll wrap this up in a moment, but before we let you run, I just want to know what kind of movies you watch when you're not making movies.
Oh, I do like a horror. I've got to say, I love a horror. What was the last thing I watched? I'm very open to what I watch. I'm very I want to try lots of new things. I think one of my favorite films I've seen in the last couple of years was The Triangle of Sadness. I thought that was absolutely incredible. And
was there any spewing on your boat?
No, there wasn't actually. And if anyone got mildly nauseous, they would put you in one of the speedboats that would take us the boat. And apparently that's the trick. They just spin you around in circles really fast and put you back on and you're okay again. So.
Oh, geez. Doesn't sound...
So that has the opposite effect on me.
No.
They spin me around really fast. I go on the teacup ride.
And it worked. They would just drive us around the bay really quick and pop us back on. So, yeah, thank God, no seasickness.
I watch people on the teacup ride and I start feeling sick. I can't...
I mean, how cool that you love horror movies and now you're on the poster of a shark movie. That's very cool.
Yeah, I think it ticked a big box for me. Definitely, I think it was it's not every day you get to do that sort of thing. And as an actor early on in your career, to be able to take on so much action and be able to do so much stunt work and all of these, big moments. So, yeah.
100%.
I mean, I do want to ask, did you get frustrated that no one seemed to have read the script? Like, they could have picked up those pipes at any point in the movie and killed the shark, and the movie would have been over in 10 minutes. Like, just read ahead, people. It happens really early on. You're like, come on, guys.
Yeah. I mean, why don't you just take on the shark immediately? Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for making time for us. Been a real thrill to chat with you and talk about Julian too. That was a nice little segue. So thank you.
Oh, thank you guys so much. It's been lovely. Have a lovely evening.
I'm disappointed that your dog didn't make an appearance. So.
And then, wait, let me grab her.
Okay. Camera's still rolling.
This is. Oh. This is the dog. There we go.
Lovely. Look at that coat.
Like, where's that peanut butter?
Where's
that peanut butter?
Are we lost?
You have been walking around with a secret smile. I think you have a girl.
Charlotte, a wreck from the Second World War. This would be the dive of a lifetime. It's off limits, so no one's been in there.
What is this place? USS Charlotte. Buried in the sand for 80 years. Stay together.
You sure about that, Tony?
What is going on? Everybody just calm down. Oh, shit.
We have to stop the bleeding.
There's never been any sharks, so what do you call that out there?
We have to work together to get out of here.
Go! How much air do you have?
It's fully in the red.
I will grab a new air tank and I will come back to get you, okay?
I don't want to drown. It's a dead end. I just want to get out of here.